Did you miss me? I missed me. I missed me so hard. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather round and let the great sea fowls take you on an adventure inside the weird world of cults and, of course, their leaders.
Now, with your loyal fan base and to the extent that they're dedicated to your music and your message, it has some people calling you a cult leader. How do you feel about that?
Sea Fowls, the Carney present.
Cult leader.
Yeah, they're comparing you to, like Jim Jones or David Koresh.
That's real fucked up to compare me to Jim Jones or David Koresh. You know what I mean? Because those were not people that were for the greater good. You know what I'm saying? If they're trying to say that I'm gonna feed my fans electric Kool-Aid, they got me fucked up.
Echo Chamber. A new generation of digital cult leaders.
So, you may be wondering to yourself why I'm here. Well, I get called the cult leader on the internet a lot. So the hippie thought it would be fitting for me to break this down for all of you. Since I think a lot of people don't truly see the cults that are brewing right in front of them. According to humanrightsresearch.org, a cult leader is typically a charismatic and persuasive individual who claims to possess special knowledge and often seeks to control and manipulate their followers. They may exhibit pathological narcissism and can be seen as false teachers who spiritually abuse their followers. Cult leaders often become the objects of worship, serving as the source of truth and authority within the group, and are usually bound to their followers by shared beliefs and practices that deviate them from mainstream society. Does that sound familiar to anyone else? I feel like I've heard that before, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Let's go ahead and look at some examples of a few of these cult leaders, shall we? I've personally always been fascinated by Jim Jones. So let's learn a little bit about the history of Mr. Jones. The Jonestown Massacre occurred on November 18th, 1978, when more than 900 members of an American cult called the People's Temple died in a mass Control-Alt-Delete someone else under the direction of their leader, Jim Jones. It took place at the so-called Jonestown Settlement in the South American nation of Guyana. Jones had founded what became the People's Temple in Indiana in the 1950s, then relocated his congregation to California in the 60s, and in the 70s Following negative media attention, the controlling preacher moved some 1,000 of his followers to the Guyanese jungle, where he promised they would establish a utopian community. On November 18th, 1978, U.S. Representative Leo Ryan, who had gone to Jonestown to investigate claims of abuse, was Control-Alt-Deleted along with 4 members of his delegation. That same day, Jones ordered his followers to ingest poison-laced punch while armed guards stood nearby. Woof. You might be wondering, how did this dude get people to buy into his bullshit? Well, as it said in the definition, these people are incredibly charismatic. They're basically the used car salesman of religion, for lack of a better term, because 90% of the time it's hidden under religion. The megalomaniacal man behind the tragedy, Jim Jones, came from humble beginnings. Jones was born on May 13th, 1931, in rural Indiana. In the early 50s, he began working as a self-ordained Christian minister in small churches around Indianapolis. Self-appointed, self-ordained. This guy just decided one day, God has invested the power in me, and I shall be the one who spreads his message. I mean, we all know what really happened, but this dude just decided God gave him the power to be a Christian minister. Almost like he woke up one day and went, you know what? I'm God's favorite. In San Francisco, Jones became a powerful figure. He curried favor with public officials and in the media. He donated money to numerous charitable causes and delivered votes for various politicians at election time. People's Temple ran social and medical programs for the needy, including free dining, drug rehab, and legal aid services. Jones' message of social equality and racial justice attracted a diverse group of followers, including idealistic young people who wanted to do something meaningful with their lives. As Jones' congregation grew, estimates of the group size vary, but a 1977 expose by New West magazine put the number of People's Temple members at 20,000. Negative reports began to surface about the man referred to as Father by his followers. Former members described beginning forced to give up their belongings, homes, and even custody of their children. They told of being subjected to beatings, and Jones staged fake cancer healings. Faced with unflattering media attention and mounting investigations, the increasingly paranoid Jones, who often wore dark sunglasses and traveled with bodyguards, invited his congregation to move with him to Guyana, where he promised they would build a socialist utopia. Now, the reason that I found that part important is because it shows the type of guy these cult leader types will portray themselves as. This is a guy who wants equality. He wants justice. He wants to help the homeless. He wants to help the addicts. He wants to get in good with the politicians. He wants to be known as a good member of his community. So that when he gets new people into his church, we'll say, he gets to pull them aside and say, hey, you know there's a whole other level to this, right? You know, if you just follow me and my teachings, I can give you an even better afterlife. And if you're someone who's not really in a great spot in life, that sounds like a pretty fucking sweet deal. I just have to hang out with this guy and listen to his teachings and my life will get better? Wow. Leo Ryan, a U.S. representative from California, heard from some of his constituents that their family members were being held against their will at Jonestown and decided to go there to investigate. Ryan arrived in Guyana in November 1978 with a delegation that included news reporters and photographers, along with concerned relatives of some of the People's Temple members. On November 17th, the congressmen and reporters were welcomed to Jonestown compound, to their surprise, with a dinner and evening of entertainment. Jones even agreed to meet with the reporters. However, during the visit, some People's Temple's members asked Ryan's group to help them get out of Jonestown. On November 18th, Ryan and his group, which also included a small contingent of People's defectors, People's Temper... Let's try that again. On November 18th, Ryan and his group, which also included a small contingent of People's Temple defectors, left Jonestown. While waiting at a nearby jungle airstrip, they were ambushed by gunmen sent by Jones. Ryan was killed, along with a reporter and cameraman from NBC, a photographer from the San Francisco Examiner, and a female People's Temple's member who was attempting to leave. This is going to be a very common theme in this cult leader playbook, so to speak. They always want to isolate you into the group. So if you try to go anywhere outside of the group, you will be punished. It's not always putting some dudes with some pew-pews in the trees when you try to leave, but there will be some sort of punishment if you go against the group. The same day as the ambush on the airstrip, Jones told his followers that soldiers would come for them and torture them. He ordered everyone to gather in the main pavilion and commit what he termed a revolutionary act. The youngest members of the People's Temple were the first to die, as parents and nurses used syringes to drop a potent mix of cyanide, sedatives, and powdered fruit juice into children's throats. This guy had people so convinced of his bullshit that they were literally force-feeding their children poison. Jones had reportedly obtained a jeweler's license at an earlier point, which enabled him to stockpile cyanide. So think about that. Somebody went and became a jeweler in order to stockpile the necessary amount of cyanide it was going to take because he knew the only way this ended is with this event. He didn't want justice. He didn't want equality. He didn't want to help people. He wanted power. He wanted fame. He wanted attention. And people like this are very, very good at getting what they want. Charles Manson and the Manson family. Yet another head on the Mount Rushmore of cults and cult leaders. And this one is interesting. Manson didn't just want to control his followers. Pay attention to that word. It's going to be thrown around a lot in this video. He wanted to control everything. Born in 1934 to a teenage mother, Manson's early childhood and young life was spent bouncing around between relatives and later on in and out of institutions, jails, and I think some mental hospitals. In the Midwest, in his early 20s, he married twice and fathered a son. Manson was considered so thoroughly institutionalized by authorities that upon his 1967 release from a California prison, he asked the warden if he could stay. This dude was so not about being a part of normal society. He opted to try to stay in prison, which a lot of people theorize is why he got arrested so many times, because, that's where he wanted to be. But instead, Manson migrated to Berkeley and then San Francisco, cities that would become flooded with young people looking to embark on a new way of life. An older figure among the crowd, he amassed a small group of followers, almost entirely women. Old Charles is good with the ladies. And in 1968, headed along with several female followers to LA to pursue a music career, having learned how to play the guitar in prison, of course, Manson's tools of persuasion were the laxed social codes of the 1960s, in which runaway hippies mingled freely with Hollywood royalty, and this ability to tell others what they wanted to hear, both of which he parlayed into a friendship with Dennis Wilson, the drummer for the Beach Boys. So basically, this dude was really good at blowing smoke up your ass and making you like him. Through Wilson, Manson met other industry players and grew increasingly fixated on stardom. This guy wanted to be famous. This guy wanted attention. This guy wanted power. Much like our other friend we just spoke about, old Jimmy Jones. All while exercising greater and greater control over the group that became known as the Manson family. He was, as investigative journalist Jeff Gwynne put in Manson, The Life and Times of Charles Manson, the wrong man in the right place at the right time. Meaning, here you have this movement, we'll call it a movement, of these free-spirited young people who don't want authority. They don't want rules, man. Rules are dumb, man. But in the midst of all that free love and chaos and careless lifestyle, well, here comes a man who can get people to do whatever he wants them to do. And since he was counterculture and he got arrested a lot, a lot of these hippies and these young people thought that was cool. Oh man, this guy's a rebel. He doesn't conform to normal society, man. In the public's imagination, the Manson girls, as they came to be known, loomed almost as large as Manson himself. Mostly young women in their late teens and early 20s, Manson family members were, in the late 60s, not especially unusual. White, middle class women all over the country were heading for cities like San Francisco and LA, inspired by other hippies to turn on, tune in, and drop out, man. Manson used his female followers to lure other men to both join the group and support it. It was several of the women that initially met Dennis Wilson and brought Manson to his home. So basically, this dude got a bunch of cute girls, and I'm sure they all had such bubbly personalities, to infiltrate higher up people and these elite Hollywood circles, if you will. They bounced around LA, eventually settling at Spawn Ranch, an old film and TV set in the San Fernando Valley. Manson exercised total domination over the group. Members were reportedly forbidden from wearing eyeglasses or carrying money. And in Member of the Family, My Story of Charles Manson, Life Inside His Cult and the Darkness That Ended the 60s, Manson follower Diane Luke, just 14 when she met Manson, detailed long nights of lectures in which Manson instructed others at the ranch to take LSD and listen to him preach about the past, present, and future of humanity. That's where speculation and conspiracy comes in, that Manson may have been a part of the MK Ultra trials, and he basically was taught how to do this by the government. Believe what you will or not, but what Manson did and MK Ultra is virtually the same thing. Some of the family remained loyal to Manson even after he was sentenced to death. Later converted to life in prison when California got rid of the death penalty. One of Manson's earliest followers, Lynette Squeaky Forome, attempted to assassinate Gerald Ford. I didn't know that. Okay. So this dude has people trying to take out the Hollywood elites, the presidents, I'm sure other politicians, people in a position of authority. And we're going to get into why. What was Helter Skelter? Prosecutor Vincent Bulagosi, in his exhaustive attempt to put together a motive for the family's killings, landed on Manson's obsession with what he called Helter Skelter. Taken from the Beatles song of the same name, Manson told his followers the White Album was further evidence his theories about the end of the world are correct. Do you want to know what happens at the end of the world? I have the knowledge, just follow me. Helter Skelter, in Manson's verbiage, was the pending race war that would see thousands die and force the family to disappear into underground caves. There, they would wait until it was time for them to emerge and rule what was left of the world. This guy, I don't know if Manson believed his own bullshit. He kind of seems like he did, but this guy claims he was going to be at least one of, if not the sole ruler of the world. Once again, much like with old Jimmy Jones, I'm God's favorite. I'm better than you. I'm the chosen one. While Manson initially foretold that the first crimes would be committed by African Americans against white, the desperate state of his affairs in the summer of '69, his musical aspirations had largely come to nothing, and his Hollywood connections had dried up, led him to shift his focus and tell the family they might have to begin helter-skelter themselves, committing savage crimes in upscale neighborhood in an attempt to demonstrate to African Americans how the violence should be carried out. So now this dude is trying to manipulate and control people outside of his cult so that he can keep his narrative and make his cult believe him. On the night of August 8th, 1969, Manson family members Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, and Linda Kasabian, who would later turn state's witness against the others. Oh, you're a rat. Drove to Tate and Polinsky's home. The director was out of town working on a film. The 8 months pregnant Tate, who appeared in '67's Valley of the Dolls and was considered one of Hollywood's most promising up-and-comers, was relaxing at home with her friends, celebrity hairstylist Jay Serberg, coffee heiress Abigail Folger. Never heard of it. I don't know who that is. And Folger's boyfriend, Wojtek Frykowski? None of them had any tangible connection to Manson or the Manson family other than being physically in the house previously occupied by someone Manson knew. Bugliosi writes that a witness for the prosecution described a March 1969 day on which Manson came to the house looking for Melcher and found Tate on the porch instead. There could be no question that Charles Manson saw Sharon Tate and she him, writes Bugliosi. Tate and her friends all died at the hands of Watson, Krenwinkel, and Atkins, as did Stephen Parent, a teenage friend of the house's caretaker who happened to be pulling out of the driveway when they arrived. They didn't even get the person they intended to get. But again, in order to keep his bullshit narrative alive, Manson had to carry out what he said he was going to carry out. The very next night, the same group of family members, plus Leslie Van Houten and Manson himself, set out to commit more murders. They drove to the house of grocery business executive Leno LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. In the Los Feliz area of LA, LaBianca was totally unknown to the Manson family. Some of its members had reportedly been to a party in the neighborhood, according to Bugliosi. The LaBiancas were chosen at random after several hours of driving around upscale LA neighborhoods. So, this dude just decided, I need to make something happen. I need to do something to make all of my people believe the bullshit I'm spewing. That one. That's how far some people are willing to go to keep their bullshit narrative alive. So, at this point in the video, you may be saying, but Weird Clown Man, all of that happened in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Are there even cult leaders in the modern day? Well, I'm happy you ask, random internet person in my head. Yes, there are in fact still cult leaders today. and they've adopted the use of social media platforms to execute their dirty work. Let's talk about Nixum? Nixum? I don't know how to pronounce this. The cult that was branding ladies in a place that you don't want to be branded. Y'all remember hearing about that a couple of years ago? Well, according to BBC, you guys know what that means, you dirty fucks. Nixum cult acts. We're leaving that in there. Nixum cult actress Allison Mack sentenced to 3 years in prison. The 38-year-old admitted to racketeering and conspiracy charges in April 2019 related to her efforts to recruit women. Last year, cult leader Keith Raniere was handed 120 years in prison for multiple crimes, including forcing women to be his happy fun time slaves. In a letter before sentencing, Mack begged for forgiveness from her victims. Fuck you, lady. And the letter addressed to those who have been harmed by my actions was filed to the court by her lawyers, who request she face no time in prison. That's insane, but okay. By the way, I'm reading a lot of these, authentically to film this, so there's some shit even I don't know about. I threw myself into the teachings of Keith Raniere with everything I had, she wrote. I believed wholeheartedly that his mentorship was leading me to a better, more enlightened version of myself. There it is again. I have some chosen knowledge. I am God's favorite. I am the chosen one. I am holier than thou. This was the biggest mistake and regret of my life, Mack continued. Okay. Whatever. We listen, we don't judge. Whatever the fuck the internet says now. I'm sorry to those of you that I brought into Nixum. I'm sorry I ever exposed you to the nefarious and emotionally abusive schemes of a twisted man, she added. Mack, best known for her role on U.S. television series Smallville, fled to Mexico with the group's leaders as authorities begin closing in on them in 2018. Since her arrest, she has been living in her California family home while taking university courses and working on catering, her lawyers say. Or said, I guess this should probably be past tense. What is Nexum? It's a group that started in 1998 as a self-help program, and it says it has worked with more than 16,000 people, including son of former Mexican president and Hollywood actresses such as Mack. Despite its tagline of working to build a better world, its leader, Keith Raniere, was found guilty of overseeing a slave and master system within the group. So at this point, are you starting to see a trend here? It's always, I have some forbidden knowledge that you cannot get unless you listen to me, and I'm going to control this narrative. I'm going to keep you in this box so that you have no choice but to believe my reality. Also, do everything I say. That's a big part of this. Do everything I say, or there will be some sort of punishment. Raniere was at the top of this structure, and the only man. That's another common one. It's a lot of sexual preference in terms of like they only want men or they only want women, because if people start to form bonds and relationships, they might start to see through this weird codependent thing that the cult leaders have going on. Also, girls are gross, boys only. Female recruits were allegedly branded with Rainier's initials and expected to have sex with him as part of the system. Those dudes literally going around being like, hey, if you fuck me, I'll give you the key to the universe. You have to be very charming and very charismatic to get people to fall for that shit. That is wild. Like, I've seen some women use vagina power to get dudes to do stuff. But this dude literally was like, if you want the secret to the world. And people did it. That's the amount of power people like this can find themselves with. As part of her effort to cooperate, it didn't just spell it like cooperate, it spelled it CO-operate. Mac provided them with an audio recording of Rainier discussing one branding ritual. She, Mac, dehumanized people and was inhumane, said India Oxenberg. And that's another sort of tactic that these cult leaders are going to use. They're going to somehow convince you that either you or the opposition are inhuman. They are lower than you. And therefore, it is okay to lie, cheat, steal, take advantage of, do all the horrible shit that cults are always known for doing. But Mr. Weird Clown Man, the disembodied voice, said this was going to be a documentary about a new wave of digital cult leaders. And we're about to get into that, my friends. You see, my time on the internet has been riddled with this strange corner of YouTube, really. But this strange corner of true crime investigators searching for the answer to all your biggest conspiracy theories. Now, what are true crime communities made up of? Well, they're made up of people who have an interest in crime, obviously, but also in investigating crimes and in trying to play detective to find conspiracy theories, to the point where it actually impedes on real investigative work.
We were getting such little information that it created this chasm where rumors and speculation just started to fill the silence.
How did the police create the chasm? Right? She says there was a chasm because the police weren't giving us all the information that we wanted, and we needed it now. It's my money and I want it now. I mean, J.G. Wentworth vibes over here. This is the selfishness of a lot of people in the press or people in general who don't understand how an investigation goes. I just said it 2 seconds ago. You're a small department that's not as experienced in these things. And at the moment, if you give away too much information, you don't want the bad guy to go, oh, they're looking at me, I'm out of here, and skipping town. People need to realize this, especially the press. The most important thing in an investigation is the investigation. It's integrity. Not giving as much information as they possibly can to the press or the crowd or the victims. It's difficult to solve, and nobody can keep their mouth shut. And to say it's the police department's fault why this chasm was created is the chasm was created because a million reporters showed up on scene, started demanding answers, and the second that they didn't, Miss Lady, you all started saying, well, we deserve answers. Well, what's going on? Well, something stinks in the state of Denmark. Except here it's the state of Idaho. It's your media circus, and we're going to get there eventually, and the social media circus that whips everybody up in a frenzy and makes it a chasm, if you will, that needs to be filled with information. And that chasm is then filled with rumor and speculation. That's not on us at all. That's on you as media organizations, reporters, internet sleuths, and true crimers. You create the buzz. We're just going about our daily lives investigating crimes, which is what we're paid to do. We're not jumping on the internet every 10, 15 seconds to upload a new video or segment or article, etc., in order to try and make this, whatever incident it might be, bigger than what it is. And then to immediately speculate as to, well, why aren't the police? Because the first thing that almost always happens when police don't give all the information that media wants is what? Exactly. That we're dirty, that it's a cover-up, that people who have nothing to do with anybody on the scene or with the crime are obviously in cahoots with some unknown Illuminati to prevent crimes that we're investigating to being solved. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Thank you, Angry Cops. I appreciate that breakdown. That was very helpful. So you have these true crime communities whose entire life is investigating the big, grand conspiracy. But what happens when it's over? What happens when people get behind a cause? Well, these investigators still feel the need to investigate. But if there's nothing going on, then there's nothing to look into. But if there's nothing to look into, there's no reason that you're going to pay attention and listen to the narrative that they're trying to feed you. So what do? They pick a target and they invent a reason that that target needs to be investigated. Except instead of doing an appropriate investigation, they take it to the level of doxing, of harassing, of showing up at people's work, of showing up at people's houses, and of doing everything they can possibly do to ruin that person's life. Why? Because the content creator, cult leader, has to keep the power, the control, and the illusion that they are on the side of righteousness, the side of justice, the side that will be looked back at as the good guys in history. All while actively ruining the lives of innocent people. Don't believe me? Well, good thing the old Carney conducted a couple of interviews so that I may prove my point. Hey everybody, my name is Casey. You probably know me better by my online personality, CFAS. You know, the guy that's hosting this video. But today is not really about CFAS. Today is more about my own personal experience with the cult-like behavior that happens on all social media platforms, But for me, more specifically, it was here on YouTube. So I think before we get into this, it's very important to give some context of the mindset that I was in when I started this adventure here on the internet. Isn't it great? Don't you love it? So, I know a lot of you have heard my story already, and for those who haven't, I will keep it brief. Um, the cliff notes are I was an alcoholic who was at my complete rock bottom. Um, and I felt like I had pushed away everything and everyone that I had in my life. I felt completely isolated, completely alone, and like nobody would care whether I was here or not. Whether that's true is debatable and also not the point of what I'm talking about right now. But that was the mindset I was in when I decided to start going up on Tony Dodge's panel. Oh my god, I said the name. Ugh. Shut up. As we're about to get into, everybody really blew that shit out of proportion. But here we go. I started going up on this dude's live panels to talk about the Kylie Rodney case. Now, I do see this kind of cult behavior in other online communities, but I gotta say, true crimers, y'all got the indoctrination thing down to a T. My goodness. So I start going on this panel and saying a whole bunch of outlandish, crazy shit for the sake of saying crazy shit. I just wanted attention, quite honestly. And when I started doing those live panels, very quickly, I was flooded with positive comments and people saying that they love me and they can't wait for the next time I'm on the show and they're so happy I started doing YouTube, and it was the sense of community that I was looking for. However, because I was afraid that this newfound sense of community would go away if I disobeyed the rules or whatever, it did get to a point where we were starting to do bits and do things on that show that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with, but it wasn't my channel, it wasn't my show, and the people seemed to love it. And I can be completely candid and honest about this. I'm a YouTuber. We're all attention whores. The point of being on this platform is, hey, everybody, look at me. So, yeah, there was a little bit of ego stroking involved and starting to think, like, oh, well, got all this attention. I must be doing something right. Yeah, getting blackout drunk on the internet and saying crazy shit is not exactly doing something right, but anyway, throughout my time on that channel, I did end up meeting a lot of people. A select few of those people that I actually am still in contact with to this day. But I ended up meeting a dude by the name of Joey, free from Fetter's Grove. I think he changed it. I don't know. We all called him Fetty. And this dude and a couple of other people ended up also becoming regulars on that show with me. So eventually, just throughout doing ridiculous, outlandish bits and talking about the Kylie Rodney disappearance, good old Upchurch caught wind of our channel and decided he had a problem with Tony Dodge, which rightfully so, as it would turn out, that guy sucks, and he deserved to be ran off the internet. Absolutely. But everything finally came to a head the night that Upchurch decided to come on the panel with, I was there, Tony was there because it was his channel. I know my friend Dusty was there. I feel like there was someone else, but mind you, I was drunk as shit when this was all going down, so it's a little fuzzy. But we were on there just talking shit, doing what we always did, and Upchurch came on there and, to his credit, was trying to have a legitimate conversation with old Dodger, and Dodger just kept, I fucked your mom, meh. And it just evolved into a screaming match, and then Tony kicked Upchurch from the studio or whatever, and all this chaos erupted. And then I started getting phone calls about how Tony was actually a sketchy dude, and there's all this shady shit going on, and just the drama volcano absolutely erupted after that. So, myself, Dusty, and Joey went our own separate way, and we were like, you know what? We don't need him. We are the show. We can do the show without him. Which we did for a while. But at that point, there was already a lot of issues with, trolling. But more so than that, people trying to dox, people trying to, like, actually physically show up and fight people. But there was some lewd pictures going around. Like, it was that kind of fucking weird, shady shit. So, when Fetty created this Discord, I don't remember if he had it or if he created it. Anyway, there was a Discord server that pretty much not his entire, but a good portion of his YouTube community was involved in. And this is where things started to get, well, I'm just going to call it what it is, culty. So from my mind frame, Dusty and Joey and all these people from the Free from Fetters Grove chat community, I guess, they all stuck up for me and they had my back, and, you know, obviously they're my friends. And I kind of felt the same sense of owing them something as I did on Tony Dodge's channel, where I was like, well, these are the people who have accepted me, so I don't want to upset them. But there started to be all these rules about what channel you can watch and who you can talk to and who you can chat with. And, you know, if anybody was associating with people outside of the core Discord group, that called your loyalty into question. And there were several times where I had to get on a voice call or a phone call with either Joey or Joey and a couple other people and like fucking prove my loyalty to the group or something, and like make sure I wasn't like infiltrating. I don't know. Infiltrating fucking what, Joey? Your YouTube channel where all you did was talk about fucking drama anyway? But it was that sort of thing. It was the indoctrination of not being allowed to have an outside opinion, not being allowed to question what Joey wanted to do, not being allowed to make my own decisions and have my own opinions. And on top of that, getting told pretty regularly, "Oh, hey man, I'm having some troubles. I could really use some help with this or that, blah blah blah." And it's not that he ever straight up said, "If you don't pay me, you're kicked out of the group." But I think a lot of people back then would agree that was kind of the sentiment. It was kind of like, "Hey, I need you to help me to prove that you're whatever. Again, that prove your loyalty or something." And it wasn't until now that I'm thinking about all this stuff, good lord, this rabbit hole is much deeper than I even thought it was. It wasn't until I was introduced to my ex-girlfriend Brennan that she was like, "Hey, why you spend a lot of time in that Discord, and like whenever Joey tells you to drop whatever you're doing and get in there, you do. And like you guys are always having to check in. Like, is this dude your fucking parole officer? Is this dude your dad? Like, why? Why does everybody care what he thinks so much?" Um, and it wasn't until getting an outside perspective from her that I did kind of start to realize, like, oh yeah, that is kind of weird. Why am I not allowed to go to other YouTube channels? Why am I not allowed to associate with people outside of this little Discord community we have going on? Why do I feel like I have to pay in to this community to be accepted by it? And on top of that, there was almost constant guilt tripping of, "Well, yeah, C-Files, but remember everything we've done for you. You owe us." And so it really was just a culmination of multiple different tactics for Joey to try to keep control of his little YouTube community. And quite honestly, in a lot of ways, he's still doing the exact same thing to this day. I am no longer in that Discord. I don't know if that Discord even still exists. But I still check in every now and again, and I still see Joey calling people into question if they've been spotted at this channel or that, or blah, 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 blah. And it's a very strange thing when I stop and look back at it, because it all happened so naturally and so fast that it did feel like I was forming real friendships. However, when I look back at these friendships, it becomes very clear that they were trying to control and use me the entire time. So much so that when I finally kind of decided I didn't really like what was going on there, again, a whole bunch of drama happened. We're not really here to talk about that. But by the time I had my great falling out with Joey, he ended up going on a rant and talking shit about me, and a lot of the people who had said I was a friend, had called me brother, had said they loved me, had said, if you ever need anything, man, anything at all, I got you, bro. It took a 15-minute fucking live stream for all of these people to just flip, and suddenly I was public enemy number one. So if you go against the cult, the group, the community, whatever you want to call it, you will be publicly shamed, harassed, bullied. I'm not going to say anyone from that community is the person who did it, but someone most definitely fucking doxed me. And I was made an example. Look what happened to C-Files. Does anyone else want to question Joey? Turns out, fast forward like 6 months later, and it came out that everything he said about me was bullshit. Self-admittedly, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. Now, Joey has shown his power to be your judge, jury, and executioner. And I'm not the only one who made really, really powerful friendships in that community. I'm not going to blast anybody, but I personally have talked to several people from that community who, at least about this time last year, were still kind of afraid to leave that community because they were afraid these people that they're now calling their best friends will turn their back on them, just like they did to me. So, a few months after that, somebody else decided to get mad at me, again, for going on the wrong channel, for talking to the wrong people, for going against the group. Someone else got mad at me, ran back to Joey, and used him to start another smear campaign about me. And during all of this time, I was blocked, I was ignored, anything I tried to come in to do and say to defend myself wasn't going to happen. So what are my two options? Make a bunch of YouTube videos replying to this and just make my whole YouTube channel a bunch of response videos to some stupid fucking drama? Or just let my reputation be ruined and try to move on from it. Which is what I did. I tried to be the bigger man and tried to move on from it. What's up, everybody? So today I have a guest who has also had some cultish experiences on the internet, you might say. And I thought it would be interesting to just kind of hear another perspective and another side of things. So without any further nonsense, we have my friend, Progressive Patriot. What's up, dude?
How's it going, C-Files? I'm glad you're doing this video. I think it's something that, especially now, is very beneficial, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. For those that don't know, Eli and I have been through the ringer together on this weird little platform. So I feel like you've experienced just about as much as I have in a different way. So I mean, I think I'm just gonna kind of give you the stage and let you tell your side of the story.
Okay, let's see. I guess I'll go over the dead horse origins of Progressive Patriot. Yes, I regret the name, but I keep it because it triggers people. Um, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years ago, who's counting? I'd say that's when I caught the attention of somebody that I had no idea would live in such infamy and would have me connected in a way inside of an algorithm that maybe one day I need to completely get out of. But it goes like this, and this is where I take accountability. I saw an opportunity. Of everybody going after an individual who's probably been mentioned in this very video, Tony Dodge, a nefarious name, unanimously voted as a creep. And that is justification for the golden god of the Creek Squad, Crack Squad, Tweak Squad. More about that soon. To go ahead on his live stream with a reach of 3 million loyal followers. Not so much now. Now they're mostly just numbers because they've seen through all the BS, I would hope. And he said, and I quote, "Good guys, good girls, everybody, go over there and find out what this or that was." Now, I remember exactly what it was. Some random Instagram user text that was not meant to be shared, just happened to be on his screen. But whatever it was, guilty or not, the court of public opinion was already done. And with the backing of a celebrity who is idolized, not much unlike a cult leader, already sicked the dogs on him. Now, Tony Dodge, call him a victim or not, innocent or not, a creep, yes, I have my own experiences with him. I had no idea what I had gotten myself into, but it was fun to troll somebody without consequences for about 4 months. And 4 months after getting my attaboys, Ryan Upchurch, and I had no idea how much a sharing of my link by a celebrity with such reach would have an impact on my life. Thus began what I now view as, although I'm culpable, I'm not without sin, this entire community that I had very little knowledge of, ingratiating me, love bombing me, telling me how much they want to help me, sending me money without request. The famous saying, "We got another super chat," became a long running joke as a justification for the money that just kept pouring in. And that was just publicly on the back streets. All these people that have all these strange backstories and origins talking to me about how wealthy they are and how they want to financially back me and build me up and, make me some sort of famous something or another on its own, as long as I was always loyal to what got me there, which was this sharing, multiple shares from Ryan Upchurch and his mother, Patty. So I played along. I did not speak negatively about Dear Leader, and this went on successfully for about 4 months. My God, the revenue. I misquoted in the past, and oh my God, people love when they can get you on anything, especially if it's a nothing burger. But I think I generated over $2,000 in the first month alone, and that's subscriptions and all these things I never asked for, but I wasn't shutting it away. I didn't know that came with the price of my soul and my freedom of speech and the proud independence of my very thought. So then, famously, somebody came onto my platform while it was still under the umbrella of Creek Squad and told their entire community, just like when Upchurch tells his community to think a certain way or dislike this certain person. She comes onto my platform and says, "Let's everybody that's listening," which at the time was a couple of hundred people, "call CPS on this YouTuber." Why? For no other justification that they did not like him, that he was speaking out against Holy Creek Squad, something similar to a cult. Yes, it is. It sounds, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, so on and so forth. So, still thinking that I at least had some autonomy, I went on that fella's chat. PBR is his name, not a popular guy, still to this day. And I apologized. I didn't care about the optics. I felt what was done was wrong, and to drag somebody's family that has nothing to do with what's going on. The YouTube streets, it should be held. I should have been held accountable. So I apologized to him on the panel with my face, and he thanked me. That was that. The next day, the whirlwind, the demand and entitlement to my time, to my livelihood, and how I should think was questioned. And I was at work, which is something I don't know. It's not always popular around here because it's amazing. Some people stay on here for 16 hours a day just glazing that dude. It was good old Captain Kurt Reacts. I hold no ill will to you, Captain Kurt. And now your old icon that you have the booty stamp of has blocked you. I feel for you. I truly hope all goes well in life. But he made this live stream, and I start getting my phone is blowing up, and I'm not yet prepared for the pressure that is put on by such a large group. We're talking, I mean, I went from like a couple hundred subs to 5,000 plus. So think about that and then multiply it. All these people are demanding and telling me, hey, Captain Kurt is live right now, and your name is in the title, and you have to go there. Stop what you're doing and answer to him. That was the first real kink in the armor that I recognized that I am in something that I didn't know, that I didn't want to be in. And henceforth, at that time, again, I lacked the maturity, I believe, and it gave me a full-on anxiety attack where I actually went live right after. This I haven't ever told before. I went live immediately, like on a break, or I may have snuck out of my job just to go live and speak after the live, to go off of what I heard, because I was so worried about my image and what people on the internet thought about me and were saying about me. And now I've learned how it's so okay to accept what's out of your control. But then I was freaking out, and I was watching the damage happen. The bad talking, belittling of me, demonizing me, attempts to dox me, attempts to put my job out there, all because I decided to apologize to somebody that the cult disliked so much. And one of the gatekeepers demanded I explain myself for apologizing for something to do that had nothing to do with him. And there's another individual, I hate to bring his name up because he seems to have escaped the YouTube realm, Power Stroke, no joke, whatever, interrogated me for a span of 2 hours. I still have the messages saved, and I'm just not somebody that releases stuff like that. We'll call it insurance, but he interrogated me for 2 hours just to ask me all these strange questions about who I am and who are the people that follow me. What's this, that, what are the intentions? What's the goal? As if there was some other level, and this is my speculation, don't take it as law. What would have happened had I passed this interrogation? I had to appease him because he was very angry, speaking in all caps. And also I forgot to mention, he sent me these links that I sent to him, and he kept accusing me of embedding viruses and sending false links. So he keeps on trying to keep me on the defensive and making me second guess myself. This is another aspect of a cult playbook. Now, we don't know that an actual guide exists, but it's certainly there when it comes to just beating you down mentally to the point where you're exhausted, and you're at the point where you just say, I'm sorry, whatever you say, I'll do it. And that happened with him and other people that have since been exposed for lying in the background, and then they made the mistake of forgetting how public they are and lying to the public, getting exposed, and they're gone. They may be gone, but they're still in my comments coming after me and still trying to intimidate me as if I was the naive person that I was then. So I'm sad to say that this exists. It's prevalent. It's everywhere. Unfortunately, behind every YouTuber almost, there is a toxic community if you have an irresponsible host, channel host, or celebrity, especially with celebrities. And they don't ever associate accountability, culpability with what they do recklessly, especially when you are allegedly, or screw allegedly, taking any kind of substances. Imagine the recklessness and a complete, non-caring I don't know how to word it. If you do not care for consequences and you have a long arm reach of a few million people and you just say whatever comes to mind, look at the Rodney case, which everybody's tired of hearing. Look at all that can happen if somebody with such a reach continues to carelessly use their voice just for their benefit. Too many innocents catch strays, and the cyberbullying that comes with that, the consequences that come from that, the real consequences that people don't see. So it's easy to stay within this box and laugh it off than ever looking at the mirror. And that is just a byproduct of one of the many examples of what cult-like mentalities are when it comes to large YouTubers and or celebrities using social media platforms. And that's Progressive Patriot, and this is just some of the experience that I've had.
Dude, that was awesome. I super appreciate that. And yeah, I didn't know about like Power Stroke trying to indoctrinate you into the next level. That's like some literal Scientology shit.
Well, I mean, so this is why I always leave the term speculating, because I'm only imagining what if my passing grade was only given as, okay, I forgive you, like because I not to paint myself in a positive light, I've made mistakes. I am human. A lot of people on the internet forget that. I was under the influence, and I went on he and his father's live stream, made a fool of myself. The aftermath was horrifying, but I faced the music. And then this led to this interview on a Thanksgiving, where this interview had begun, and I appeased him, but I always wondered if I perhaps did more than just have him satisfied with my apology. Would I be revealed to some other level of this Scientology-esque scheme? Like, to this day, I don't know. But I'm glad that I was satisfied with just him saying, "Okay, yeah, we're cool for now, but I'm watching everything. I'm watching everything. We are watching you." So you can't get much more creepy than that.
And there's definitely like, even beyond Upchurch and Creek Squad and that whole corner of the internet, like even when I was in Joey's Discord, it was like me and Dusty and Joey and a couple other people that were almost like, I don't want to say in charge, but it's like we were the people that everyone would come to, like as if we were the leaders. And I guess that's kind of how Joey saw himself. I never thought about it like that, but there's definitely these weird internal, like, yeah, okay, you can hang out, but like, yeah, we don't know. And then there's like, like Deerdorf, Upchurch's right-hand man, until he gets mad at him and tells him to kick bricks. And I don't know that there's like I'm not saying they sat down and had a meeting and were like, all right, here's what we need to do. But just like how most cults do similar things, it seems like most of these big YouTube platforms kind of take on similar roles as well.
This is like I keep referencing a fictional playbook, but throughout history, this is like it's a modern hierarchy. There appears to be layers and levels the farther up you go. Just like, we can use Scientology as a basis. So yeah, I think the term we're looking for that we allude to often is gatekeepers. Like they're the ones that guard right before you get to whatever further is, which perhaps, who knows, I can only speculate as far as I got, which was getting a lot of money before I got as far as I did. Maybe it's getting a straight line to Upchurch. I know it's crazy, but with all the crazy that happens in his name and in the name of his community, it wouldn't be that far-fetched for me. I've shared this story before, and I'll make this the abridged version. But remember, on that very Thanksgiving, I was on, and there was a group following me from Creek Squad and perhaps other trolls too. And they saw me going from channel to channel. I was trying to meet other channel creators or content creators, and it was a mother who was making Thanksgiving dinner with her daughters, and she's engaging with me, reading my name out loud. All of a sudden, her daughter's phone goes off, or her phone goes off. Daughter gets it, looks down at it, and there's just, you see the reaction in their face, like, oh my God, that's crazy. All of a sudden, I'm a ghost, and my name was not repeated again. So you can't tell me that somebody out of the blue didn't use whatever connections they have to get to that person who is a comedian and said, don't talk to Press Patriot, as if he's not in the club. He's not in the club yet. He's not allowed. Don't talk to him.
Well,
So,
and I think that kind of real world consequence is something a lot of people don't think about. Like, I do personally know people who have been fired from jobs. I know people who have lost marriages, who, like, this shit can actually affect people's real life. And that seems to be the goal. It seems to go farther than, like, oh, let's ruin this kid's YouTube channel. It's like, let's get him fired from his job. Let's fuck up his marriage. Let's, like, try to get him addicted to drugs and, like, drive his life into the hole.
Two mighty examples I have right now. All right, with two backdrops. Are you familiar with King Cobra JFS? He was the locale.
Vaguely, yeah. I know who he is.
34 years old. Okay,
Yeah.
so his communities that are much, I'll catch some hell for this, but they do operate in mob mentality thinking, which you can almost make the conflation that it's similar to a cult. All these years, 10 years, they have harassed him. They see he's an alcoholic and he's decaying. They send alcohol to his home every day. And now that he has passed at 34 years of age, now they're all playing memorials. And I was inside of a live stream of one of the most notorious trolling channels in that man's life. Josh Saunders is his name. It's very public. And when people were donating while they were doing this memorial, the two hosts are like, dude, guys, stop donating. They didn't want the optic of them benefiting off of his eventual end, but they had no qualms about leading up to it. I'm not saying those two specific creators, one of which that has a very large channel, about 500,000, was benefiting directly off of the end result. But how can you say they were not all the way up to that? And now they've martyred him. The second thing, I hate to bring his name up, but I'm glad he's back alive. Well, he came into my chat to tell me just that. I think I was one of the first to jump on Tennessee Royalty, what they did to him. And they're using the guise of, we're in this group, or it's a troll, these words that didn't exist before the internet. It's deplorable what people do, because they have these curtains or veils that they think is a blanket that gives an excuse for this kind of behavior. Now, I only know what I hear, and I am not saying my opinion on the matter, but he is pursuing federal action because what was done to him can be considered a federal crime. Revenge prawn is what they did. And it's crazy. This is where, again, I think these people forget the human element. We're all human beings. We're more alike than we are dissimilar. But to get laughs, views, clicks, just for the sake of humiliating somebody, thank God he's alive. That's all I have to say. What tune would they be singing if he was not?
Yeah, exactly. What happens when this goes too far and all of a sudden your funny joke isn't so funny anymore?
And that's the accountability that we just never see. And I use that word a lot because I just don't see any of it.
No, I think you're very right about that. We can talk more off air for the sake of this being the video, but it's insane how similar everything you just said is to every other example of this that I've ever seen. Like, it's weird.
And just to add from what I've seen, from my perspective, it's crazy to this day, things that happened in your life maybe 6 to 4 years ago, you still have these cowards and alts and anonymous people going off of an old and often false narrative just to troll you or just to harass you, get under your skin. I ask all of these people that play these games, what is your true goal or end result? Because hypothetically, it goes beyond just getting a reaction, which is always what the troll wants. Hypothetically, if something, God forbid, happened, what would you say then? Would you end up like the troll communities I mentioned and doing a fake memorial, and we all know you're full of it, but because for optics you're saying, "Oh, God bless, we never meant anything by it." It doesn't work that way. And ultimately, I think these communities thrive off the lack of accountability they ever have to see, sadly.
I agree. I think that was great. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing like your side and what you've seen. And yeah, guys, I guess the moral of the story is watch out who you follow on the internet.
And please, just if anything, I know the word covet is not often used positively, but at the very least, like covet or please appreciate and never lose your ability to independently think. And if you feel that's being challenged, go with your gut.
And don't be afraid to call them out.
Ever. Take the power back.
So, as I said, I mostly just wanted to distance myself from Joey and his Discord and Tony Dodge and all the Ryan Upchurch drama. I just wanted to get away from it all. Now, mind you, current day, the harassment from, I guess I'll say both those fan bases, the True Crimer Slop YouTube channels and the Creek Squad, as they're known, still like to just poke at me every now and again. So that's really fun. But I wanted to just get away from all of that, move on, and focus on what I wanted this channel to be about. And I kind of, I guess, let myself believe that, no, that was a weird corner of the internet I stumbled into. I'm glad I got that out of the way early so that, I learned my lesson and I won't have to deal with any weird internet groups like that again. Except for that's when I learned the true power that content creators or social media influencers have over their fan bases. Now, Creek Squad gets a little wild, I will admit. And Joey's channel, honestly, they just resort to vulgar shit. It's kind of their whole thing, is just saying the most heinous stuff they can think of. But it wasn't until I learned about That Surprise Witness or BJ Investigates that I saw how crazy this all really gets. So to start from the beginning, when I finally made my split from Joey and his people, it would have been late May, early June 2023. And by mid-July-ish, I was introduced by my girlfriend at the time to That Surprise Witness. We were hanging out, doing a whole lot of nothing, and oh my god, BJ dropped a video. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Oh, you don't know That Surprise Witness? You don't know what's going on with Bam and his conservator, who was actually a guardian. There is a difference. And they're trying to steal all the money, and they're trying to wrangle up all the homeless off of Skid Row and do these horrible human experiments on them, and it's all crazy. I'm like, holy shit, that sounds like a lot. Wow. Well, I mean, you're the new person I'm dating, so I want to try to show interest in the things that you're interested in. And so she showed me some of BJ's content. Namely, a lot of stuff about Bam Margera's Guardian and her VR technology for mental health and recovery. And basically, the whole thing was this giant conspiracy that they were after Bam's money. They just wanted to get him in prison so that he's behind bars and everybody can just steal all of his shit, obviously. And there's also some sort of like Serbian Illuminati that has ties in Hollywood, but only like the YouTuber media side of Hollywood, that is using them so that they can steal the homeless. And I don't know what they think they do. Like I said, human experiments. So I'm watching all this, and my first thought was, a lot of this seems a little over exaggerated, which it is YouTube. We are trying to make this entertaining. We are trying to sell you content. So you do have to make it at least interesting for people to want to watch it. I get that. But I don't think this Lima lady is as evil as you say she is. Is she after Bam's money? I don't know. Maybe. There's shitty people everywhere. Is there some grandiose, like, Epstein level conspiracy happening? I don't know about all that, but okay, I do agree that Bam needs some help. This was not long after he got let go from Jackass, when he was like up on Instagram all night, like trying to fight Johnny Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine, and this was kind of during that time period. So I can absolutely get behind helping Bam try to find sobriety and get better. And I can absolutely get behind raising awareness that, yes, there are shitty people in every industry, including the mental health and addiction industry. So I started to kind of dabble in that community and at least keep up with what was going on. Well, at the same time, my now ex-girlfriend helped start a Discord with another content creator, High Priestess Steph. Since I'm talking about this, real quick side note, there seems to be some confusion. The Discord itself was called The Goddess is Rising, but the group started calling themselves That Surprise Army. So no, technically, there was never a That Surprise Army Discord. However, there was a Discord by a group of people claiming to be That Surprise Army. So, there you go. So they start this Discord with the intent of literally just digging. Just dig into Lima, dig into her family, dig into Amanda Rabb and everything surrounding her, dig into Bam, just dig into shit. And I guess I should also take a pause and make sure I put in here so this all makes sense. This is after BJ put out a call to action saying, oh, they're trying to silence me. They're trying to stop my First Amendment right to free speech. I need all of you guys to plaster the internet with this so that they can never take it all down.
Perfect. Whichever one of these stories of the 3 stories I mentioned earlier piques your interest, whether it be from Bam and the conservatorship, the guardianship, maybe you care about Steve-O, maybe you care about Jackass, maybe you have a little bit of knowledge about the Jackass world or whatever, maybe something like that. If you see the situation happening with the twins and you're more interested in looking into stuff that's ongoing and active, and these twins are right now vanished from YouTube and we don't know where they are, we don't know if they're okay. We don't know anything though. Maybe you're more interested in that. Maybe you're more interested in trying to solve a very mysterious death that somebody lied about. Maybe that's your angle. Just start somewhere. Just pick one thing about this case that piques your interest and start there. That's all you have to do. Start somewhere. And what I like to do is I like to use my little, my messages from the mothership, my instinct. It's like there's something in you that knows whenever it's the part of the story you're supposed to look into. That's what I go with. I've been wrong about stuff, but you got to follow your heart. You got to follow your instinct. You follow your gut is what some people say. But this is excellent advice. Just pick one aspect that you either feel that spark about or one aspect that you have an area of expertise about. That's your entry point. You don't have to even talk about 2 of the 3 stories. If you only want to touch on the BAM stuff, or if you only want to touch on the twins, or you only want to touch on Mark Leta, for example, there's endless stuff you could talk about in this case. And I know that y'all have so much experience, knowledge, education. That's how you should do it.
So for me, one of the biggest questions that I started with.
Somebody said sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I agree. So while I'm fighting this case, I would really appreciate your support. If you can't contribute financially, I totally understand. If you could like, share, comment, get the story out, go to BJ Investigates, watch those videos again in the series, because I am far from done. I have a lot more to say about this case. And I intend to continue reporting on it because that is what I am created to do. Now, we do have part 2 coming soon. And I really appreciate y'all's support and liking that one, sharing that one, being there for the premiere and all of that, because let's get this story up there. She might be able to silence one person. She might be able to silence 10, but she cannot silence all of us. And this story needs to be told. Amanda Rabb deserves justice for what happened to her. The true story needs to come out, and it shouldn't be the person who has the most money gets to decide the narrative. The truth should decide the narrative. Not the person who has the most money, not the person who has the strongest financial backing. It should be the truth. So help me take a stand. We're not going to live in this upside down clown world where the truth ain't the truth and lies ain't lies. I'm not doing it. Facts ain't defamation.
Hence why now you have this group in this Discord trying to do just that. Trying to follow the Queen's orders and plaster the internet with what amounts to nothing but slander and defamation of Lima and her family. That's really all that was. So you have this group digging, doing research. And I air quote that because what they were really doing was just using confirmation bias to try to find any sort of proof of the stuff BJ was getting on the internet and saying. She was saying that one of Lima's family members was in danger and missing, and nobody knows where they are. And this literally led to my ex-girlfriend booking an apartment tour at the apartment complex where Lima's mother and sisters were living. Not because she wanted to move there, but because she wanted to be at the same apartment complex where those 3 women were. BJ had people going to people's houses to dig dirt on them. Now, did BJ directly tell Brennan, go to this house? No, she did not. But she did direct her fans to kick as much dirt on Lima's name as she possibly could. And guess what? It worked. So, there was about a month or so of just trying to shit all over Lima and also find things that can prove BJ is right about whatever nonsense she's spewing. Through this whole time, I was not involved in the Discord the entire time. I actually came into it towards the tail end, right before what I'm about to talk about. So during the whole time of this Discord, there were a couple of BJ's YouTube moderators who claimed they were being paid and claimed they were in direct contact with the Queen. And basically, they would come in and just direct people. Hey, BJ says do this. Hey, BJ says don't do that. Hey, BJ says. Hey, BJ says. Hey, BJ says. Now, I don't know if BJ was actually telling Nola Lola what to say and do, but I do know that Nola Lola was using that authority, so to speak, to gain control of at least a portion of BJ's fan base. So again, it's not always the content creator. Sometimes it's people in their community. But basically, it got to the point where there was a select sect of people who, if BJ says jump, they say how high. Doesn't matter what it is. BJ says do it, they will do it without hesitation. There was another sector of this Discord who legitimately wanted to figure out what the fuck is going on and figure out some sort of truth in this matter. That caused a ripple because BJ's little attack dogs just wanted to take any and every piece of information we got and give it to her so that she could present it as a fact to the internet. Think about that. You have a group of your own fans trying to prove your own confirmation bias so that you can put that out there to prove your own narrative. That sounds like controlling the narrative and being the only source of knowledge and information for your fan base. But that caused a ripple, and it ultimately caused the Discord to disintegrate. And some people were trying to take screenshots and take the information out of the Discord to give to BJ. Other people were just kind of over it. They just were like, you know what, I'm going to go do my own thing, and I'll keep researching this, and if I find anything cool, but if not, whatever. Well, now there's a problem. Because now BJ's moderators run to her and tell her there's a rogue group of people who infiltrated. They infiltrated our community, and they're gonna call you a liar on the internet because you've been lying on the internet. Oh no. Well, now myself and a group of my friends are public enemy number one. Now, obviously, because I'm rational enough to think for myself and to see that, I don't think Lima is like a Disney level supervillain. In fact, she's actually a very nice lady if you would take 2 fucking seconds to have a conversation with her. But that's neither here nor there. Because I'm not just immediately deciding that Lima is going to be my enemy, I am now obviously an enemy of BJ. Alright, whatever. I don't give a shit if you like me or not. But you have your fans so riled up about all of this that I spent almost a year getting an actual restraining order on BJ's so-called biggest fan. And during that time, I was also fighting off the rest of her fan base. Not because she directs them to, but as I said before, because she's very, very good at emotional manipulation.
Upside down, we live in the upside down clown world. Lima believes that me calling her statements lies is defamatory. So now here I am for the past 3-4 weeks stuck in a position of like, damn, do I need to hide the truth from we the people in order to protect myself? I just can't do it, y'all. I just can't do it. So I'm gonna have to try and fight this. It would literally take 100% of my waking moments on earth to do it. Lima seems to be very well resourced. I don't know who just has the money out of their pocket to afford a lawyer like this, because I promise y'all I do not. So I am coming to y'all for the first time asking for your help. I really need some legal assistance. I need people who are trained and prepared to fight against celebrity defamation lawyers. And I do have a great legal team that I trust, who's competent, and I think will do the job. On top of the fact that the truth's on our side. But y'all know how these legal fights can go. You know how it can happen once you end up in court. One little motion can end up costing you $100,000. I'm prepared to take this all away, but I really do need help. I don't really like asking for stuff. I do not like asking for stuff. I don't like needing help. Y'all know I do not. But in order for me to keep telling this story, and in order for me to protect my rights, in order for me to protect my own freedom of speech, my journalism, the freedom of the press, I need help. I don't like asking for help, but here I am. So if you support this journalism, if you want to see this story go all the way and you want to help, I have posted the legal fund below. If you want to donate to the legal fund, please donate to specifically this link. And every penny that I get is going straight to lawyers. I did not want to go to court. I told y'all I didn't. You to sue me in a lawsuit because I'm a lawyer. I will pay $0 for law services, and you will be having to pay lawyers who are at least as smart as me to fight against me. Alas, here we are. What I can tell you is they're not going to scare me. I will not be frightened, deterred, hindered, or stopped. I am not afraid because I am doing what I was put on this earth to do. And that is shine a bright light on the truth. Somebody said sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I agree.
Because BJ claims that she is fighting for justice, people place that on them. They think that if they don't join this fight, some of their rights, or they're somehow going to lose some sort of autonomy. And when you get people freaked out about losing rights and losing autonomy and these big crazy conspiracy theories, you don't have to tell them to do anything. And BJ knows that. BJ is very well aware of what her fans are going to do. Now, she puts out legal disclaimers and she does all these things to cover her own ass so that if you try to go after her, legally speaking, she's done nothing wrong. Once again, these kind of people think they're untouchable, quite literally referring to themselves as God's favorite.
I had for this one. In the meantime, don't mess with God's favorite. Facts ain't defamation. Neither are opinions. Love you.
So after this Discord disintegrates, like I said, I spent a long time fighting off rumors that I am some sort of sexual predator, that I am locking women in storage containers and shipping them across the ocean, that I am involved in all of these elite level crime rings and all of this crazy shit. Whether or not any of that's true, we live in a time where being accused of that kind of thing is enough to ruin your credibility and your reputation, and quite literally make it impossible for you to even get a job to be able to support yourself. And the longer time went on, I tried to have a conversation. I tried to go in the comments section and say, hey, why are you saying all this crazy shit about me? I would be immediately blocked. Or my comment would just be dogpiled on so hard that it could never get through. My voice and many other voices have not been allowed to be heard about this. Until now, because I'm doing this, obviously. But again, you're going to throw a bunch of false accusations on these people and then not even give them the chance to prove themselves innocent. It's not even guilty until proven innocent. It's simply guilty because I said so. That is a lot of power to give some person like me on the internet who just wants my voice to be heard and people to pay attention. And now you can get people to do your bidding simply by being good at being a YouTuber. That's an incredibly scary thought. But I guess to sort of wrap up the BJ saga a little bit, yeah, I've spent the better portion of the last couple of years dealing with her fan base and watching her more and more and more be able to manipulate and figure out all the things she needs to do and say to get the sympathy from her followers, to literally give her donations, to pay for this lifestyle she's built off of trying to ruin other people's lives under the guise of God wants me to be the one that fights for justice. Well, I'm here to say that I have seen far too much of this. I will not stand for this. And I am going to fight until my last breath to spread awareness that your favorite content creator might be manipulating you into doing their dirty work. Well, wasn't that just a fun ride down the lane of cults, cult leaders, and the eerie similarities between your favorite social media content creator and Jim Jones, David Koresh, Charles Manson. We've seen how almost every cult leader manipulates their, what's that? Oh, following. They use their followers to get what they want, to gain the power, the control, the money, whatever it is they're after. We've also seen examples of how YouTubers have decided to use their fans to do their dirty work. Ah, God, why do I look like this? Dude, that's so weird. I just woke up and my face is like this. Oh, man, has he been... He's been here talking shit, hasn't he? On a real note, guys. Seafowls here. If I can be completely candid. Obviously, yes, I've been having a lot of fun making this video. And clearly, this is to show, like, hey, it's not always the creepy guy mumbling to himself in the corner of the store. Sometimes, it's the people with the bubbly, energetic personality that seem like they're just so nice. We've seen the way that Manson just sort of targeted somebody because he needed something to happen to make his narrative seem as though it was coming true. Not unlike after the Free Britney movement, when BJ realized she had nothing to talk about anymore and no way to keep this narrative of her being better than you going. So what did she do? She invented a conspiracy theory to get people riled up to attack Lima so that she could sit here and say that, oh, look at me. I'm fighting for your justice. I'm fighting for your rights. I'm God's favorite. We've seen how Mr. Ryan Upchurch, after the Kylie Rodney case was over, well, he wasn't getting as much attention as he had been, was he? So what did he do? Well, he found something, just so happened to be an accidental share of a message on Tony Dodge's screen, and he used that to invent a conspiracy so that he could tell all of his fans, oh my God, you guys, I just stumbled on the biggest conspiracy ever in conspiracy. And then what happened? I got attacked. Eli got attacked. Lately, his own best friend is being attacked. Why? All because he has to keep the narrative that he is some 4D chess level genius and Elvis level legend. Now, speaking completely candidly here, I am not insinuating that I think that BJ or Upchurch or any of these social media personalities are going to use their fans for unaliving.
There is no way I could make this up. But as I'm sitting here editing this video, Ryan Upchurch decided to dox somebody without even fully knowing who they were, and allegedly he had sent someone to their house.
Or for taking down a politician or for any of these grandiose goals that a typical cult has is when you compare them side by side. Internet personalities and cult leaders share a lot of similar traits. Now, once I realized this, I had one of the most horrific thoughts I've ever had. And mind you, this guy lives in my head, so just take that as you will. Come with me on a thought experiment, will you? Close your eyes. Imagine it's, I don't know, we'll say 10 years from now. And I'm going to go ahead and guess, if I was a betting man, that we're going to continue our reliance upon the interwebs. In fact, in my lifetime, I have watched it go from, dude, why are you giving your baby a tablet? That's bad for their brain, to, dude, just give your baby the tablet and then he'll stop crying. So, add another decade onto that, and now you have a family. You have mommy and daddy and little Billy. And daddy works at the factory to try to provide for his family. And mommy works at the local grocery store to try to supplement some of the income. They're tired. They're adults. They got shit to do. Little Billy, I don't care about your Roblox or whatever, man. Just daddy needs some quiet time. Daddy wants to drink a beer. Just leave me alone. This is already happening on Roblox, by the way. I don't know if you guys have heard about that shit. People are already using children's games to groom children. Now, imagine, I don't know, let's say 5,000 people. My YouTube channel is 5,000 people. And I do not by any means consider myself a big channel. I would say successful. When you look at my analytics, they are the analytics of a successful channel, but it's small. I'm not saying I have any sort of crazy reach. But now, imagine I had 5,000 kids watching me, right? I make content. What do kids like these days? I make content about that. I'm very suspicious of anyone who makes Roblox content nowadays, but whatever, okay? Let's pretend I have a channel and 5,000 kids enjoy it. Well, mommy and daddy aren't paying attention because fuck your Roblox, I don't care. Everybody's too trapped in their little box to give a shit what goes on outside of it. If I was able to groom or condition 5,000 children into, hey, on this day at this time, all of us are going to do the Tide Pod Challenge together. Yay! Well, now you have an event 5 times bigger than Jonestown. And it's not happening in some random jungle in Guyana. It's happening right here, all across our country, in neighborhoods across the country. Can you imagine what the tone would be like if we woke up one day and discovered that thousands and thousands of people had either taken their own life or committed some crime or done something in the name of some content creator? If you ask the Manson family, they'll probably tell you they weren't a cult. If you ask Jonestown, they'll tell you they were not a cult. If you ask anyone about their social media platform, they will tell you they are not a cult. But I hope, I've done a pretty good job in this video of explaining how eerily similar this all is, and how it's not that far-fetched to think that we could have Jonestown 2.0 only over the internet. That is the power of social media, and that is also fucking terrifying. And maybe it will make some of you out there stop and take a look at your favorite content creator. Are they your favorite content creator because they inspire you, or they entertain you, or they help you, or you get something positive out of it? Or does there seem to be this overtone of, if you go against the group, we're going to have to punish you? And if it's the latter of the two, well, maybe that's not a social media community that you want to be a part of. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you sat through this whole thing, you're an absolute champion, and you deserve a reward. Go get yourself something nice. But I do hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope it was at the very least interesting. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the shit out of all of you. I had an awesome time making this. I would love to do more projects like this. So please, if you enjoyed this, or you found it helpful, or you found it interesting, go ahead and hit that like button. And please share this video. But whether you decide to share it or not, I would really appreciate a like. If you're not subscribed, maybe this is the first video of mine you've seen, go ahead and subscribe. Stick around. I promise you, as much as I look like this, we're nice people around the Carney Army. And if anybody has any questions, or maybe you found yourself in a similar situation and you're not quite sure what to do, always feel free to reach out. I don't think anybody should have to go it alone. And I definitely don't think anybody should feel persecuted by a group of people for simply existing. So, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys had a good time. I know I had a great time. You can catch me on my very own YouTube channel, Mr. Nobody. You can catch the hippie right here on this channel. And hopefully, you can catch yourself before you become a part of the next Jonestown.